This is Denmark. From the age of the Vikings to the rise of the Danish kingdom, Denmark's history is deeply connected to the sea. The Vikings were expert sailors and traders, and their legacy is still visible in Danish traditions, language, and architecture. Join us as we journey through Denmark's best preserved places and natural wonders, discovering what makes this small nation such a unique and intriguing part of our world. Frederiksborg Castle. Built in the early 1600s, the castle is surrounded by a lake, making it appear as if it's floating on water. Originally constructed as a royal residence, the castle was nearly destroyed by fire. Thanks to a donation from Jacob Christian Jacobsen, founder of Carlsberg Brewery, it was rebuilt, saving one of Denmark's most important castles. One thing that really impresses visitors is the beautiful gardens around the castle. The layout is highly organized, with everything in perfect symmetry, creating a sense of order and balance. Together, the castle and its gardens create a peaceful and grand atmosphere and a breathtaking view for anyone visiting. Garden City, also known as Brøndby, is a neighborhood like no other. This is one of the very few places in the world where homes are arranged in perfect circles. From above, it looks like a series of round, wheel-like formations, each one divided into perfect individual garden plots. It was designed to encourage social interaction and give people the feeling of living in harmony with nature. Møns Klint is a place where history and nature come together in an incredible way. These white chalk cliffs that rise sharply from the water were formed more than 70 million years ago. Every year, wind and waves erode the cliffs, slowly breaking off pieces and revealing new parts of the chalk. The beech forest that surrounds the cliffs adds even more to the area's natural beauty, making it a great place for hiking and exploring. Kronborg Castle, famously known as Hamlet's Castle, stands on the country's northeastern tip. This castle was built in the late 16th century by King Frederick II and has served many roles throughout its history. Initially, it was a fearsome fortress, but over the years, it became a royal residence. One of the most interesting facts about Kronborg Castle is its connection to William Shakespeare's famous play Hamlet. Although it's uncertain if Shakespeare ever visited the castle, the setting of Elsinore in Hamlet is based on Kronborg. Rubjerg. This lighthouse, built in 1900, stands near the edge of a cliff in the northwest corner of the country. What's really fascinating is that the lighthouse was almost buried under sand by the 1960s because the sand dunes kept moving, covering everything in their path. Despite being abandoned in 1968, the lighthouse became a tourist attraction. The building was nearly hidden by dunes, fascinating visitors with its secluded feel and natural beauty. In 2019, to prevent it from falling into the sea due to erosion, it was impressively moved 70 meters inland. Skagen. This unique spot is where two seas, the Baltic and the North, meet but do not mix. Instead, they crash into each other right before your eyes, creating a line of swirling water that's clearly visible. This unusual natural phenomenon happens because the two seas have different densities and temperatures. Moving a bit inland, we find another wonder, sand-covered Old Skagen Church. Originally built in the 14th century, it was once the largest church in the region. However, over the centuries, shifting sand dunes began to surround and eventually engulf the church. Today, only the church tower is visible above the sand, serving as a stark reminder of nature's power. Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, is home to over 600,000 people and sits on the eastern coast of the island of Zealand. The city is famous for being one of the happiest in the world, where the quality of life ranks exceptionally high. Frederick's Church, often referred to as the Marble Church, it is recognized for its majestic Rococo architecture. Construction started in 1749, but came to a halt in 1770 due to budget cuts. Interestingly, the church remained unfinished for nearly 150 years before it was finally completed in 1894. Rosenborg Castle stands proudly, built in the 17th century by one of Denmark's most famous kings, Christian IV. This castle has witnessed over 400 years of history. Inside, you'll find the crown jewels, protected by thick walls and guarded closely. These jewels are still worn by the Queen of Denmark on special occasions, connecting the past with the present in a very real way. The Church of Our Saviour. This church, famous for its spiralling spire and golden globe on top, was completed in 1752, and over the years it has become a symbol of the city. Its architectural style blends Baroque and features unique to Denmark, reflecting the design preferences of the time. While many churches have bells that ring for services or special occasions, the Church of Our Saviour has a carillon with 48 bells, making it one of the largest in Denmark. Frederiksborg Castle. This castle is where the Danish Parliament meets, the Prime Minister works, and the Supreme Court makes big decisions. Harbour. This harbour is famous for its bright, colourful houses lining the waterfront, which are hundreds of years old. One of the most interesting houses in Nyhavn is number 9, which is the oldest house in the area, dating back to 1681. This area holds a special connection to Hans Christian Andersen, the famous Danish fairy tale writer. He lived in Nyhavn for many years and wrote some of his famous stories, like The Tinderbox and The Princess and the Pea, while living there. Originally, this place was a busy commercial port where ships from all over the world would dock. Today, it is transformed into a bustling area full of restaurants, cafes, and a favourite spot for both locals and tourists to gather. In Denmark, a small but famous statue called the Little Mermaid sits on a rock by the waterside at the Langelini Pier. The story behind the statue is linked to the fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen. This fairy tale tells the story of a sea mermaid who gives up everything to be united with a young, handsome prince on land. Frederiksborg Palace was built in the early 1700s. Over the years, it has served many purposes: a royal residence, a military base, and now a part of the Danish Royal Military Academy. One of the most striking features of Frederiksborg Palace is its Baroque architecture, which stands out with its grand style and detailed decorations. Kastellet Citadel is a historic fortress built in the 17th century. One of the most interesting features of Kastellet is its layout. The design is like a star with 5 points, which was a popular style for military fortresses built during this period. An interesting highlight of the fortress is the historical windmill built in 1847, which is one of the few remaining windmills in the area. Originally, it was used to grind grain to flour, which was an important task for feeding the soldiers stationed at the fortress. Hammershus Castle. It is the largest medieval fortress in Northern Europe, and its walls hold stories from as far back as the 13th century. This castle was built around 1250 as a stronghold to protect the interests of the Archbishop of Lund. Over the centuries, it has seen numerous battles and sieges as different rulers and nations fought to control this strategic point. Ribe is a small city in the southwestern part of the country, known as one of the oldest towns, not just in Denmark, but in all of Scandinavia. Records tell that people have lived in Ribe since around the year 700. Ribe Cathedral. It stands out because it is the oldest cathedral in Denmark. Aarhus Cathedral. Constructed in the 1200s, this cathedral is a masterpiece of the Romanesque and Gothic architectural styles. The transition between these styles can be seen in the details of the building's design, making it a fascinating subject for anyone interested in how church architecture has evolved over time. The Infinite Bridge isn't just any bridge, it's designed to be an art piece. Visitors can walk on it and enjoy a 360-degree view of the sea and the sky. One fascinating aspect of the Infinite Bridge is that it stands where there used to be an old wooden pier back in the 1800s. The pier was a popular spot where people would come to swim in the sea. The Faroe Islands are a group of islands in the North Atlantic Ocean. They are part of the Kingdom of Denmark, even though they're closer to Scotland and Iceland than to Denmark. The islands form a self-governing archipelago, which means they manage many of their own affairs. Tucked away behind high mountains, Gásadalur is a small village that for years was one of the most isolated spots in the Faroe Islands. It is located on the island of Vågar, part of Denmark's Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic. This remote village is known for its enchanting atmosphere and the dramatic Fossa Waterfall, which plunges directly into the ocean. The journey to Gásadalur used to be a daunting one, with the only access being a difficult trek over the mountains. However, in 2004, a tunnel was constructed, opening up the village to the world and making it much easier for visitors to witness its scenic beauty. Mykines Village. This village lies on the island of Kalsoy and is renowned for its statue, the Seal Woman or Selkie, depicting a local legend. Selkies are mythical creatures that transform from seals into humans. The statue tells a story of a Selkie who, after being forced to marry a local man and start a family, eventually finds her hidden seal skin and escapes back to the sea, longing for her true home. Kalsoy Island is known for its dramatic landscapes, with steep hills and small villages scattered along its coast. The island is famous for the Kalla Lighthouse, which stands on a high cliff overlooking the sea. To get to the lighthouse, visitors take a hike that offers stunning views of the ocean and the surrounding islands. One of the most fascinating things about Kalsoy is its small population. Only about 80 people live on the island, spread across 4 tiny villages. This small community relies on a single main road that runs the length of the island and a ferry that connects Kalsoy to other parts of the islands. Rising sharply from the Atlantic Ocean on the northern tip of the island is the Mylingur Cliff. The cliff has an unusual point that many say looks like a bird's beak jutting out into the ocean. Reaching the cliff requires a tough hike with rocky paths and sharp edges, offering more and more expansive views as you climb. On clear days, the views from the top of the cliff are spectacular. You can see far across the sea, and the island's sharp ridges stretch out in all directions. The Witch Finger, or Trosk on a Finger, is one of the tallest freestanding sea stacks in the Faroe Islands. According to an old Faroese story, a witch from Iceland tried to pull the islands back to her home country, but was caught by the sun and turned to stone, leaving behind this towering finger as evidence of her failed attempt. Despite its name and spooky appearance, the monolith is a place of quiet beauty. The contrast between the rock's sharp, pointed shape and the smooth ocean below leaves a lasting impression on those who visit. Gjógv is a quiet and peaceful settlement named after a natural, sea-filled gorge that cuts through the coastline right next to the village. This long, narrow gorge has served as a natural harbour for centuries, providing a safe place for fishermen to dock their boats. The village has remained largely unchanged over the years, with many of its buildings being passed down through generations. Despite its remote location, Gjógv attracts visitors who want to experience the simplicity of village life. Drangarnir. This stunning rock formation consists of two sea stacks called Stóri Drangar, which is the large rock, and Litli Drangar, the smaller one. What makes this place iconic is its massive arch, which looks like a giant stone gate rising out of the ocean. The constant waves crashing against the rock slowly carved out the arch, creating the dramatic shape we see today. This arch is so large that small boats can pass through it. The remote location and difficult hike keeps large crowds away, making it relatively untouched despite its fame. As you admire the towering sea stacks, it's hard to miss the nearby islet of Tindhólmur. While many other islands have rounded or gentle slopes, its 5 sharp peaks shoot up from the sea, creating an almost mythical look. The name of the islet comes from the Faroese word tind, which means peak, making it clear that the peaks define this island. Because of its rough landscape and isolation, no one has ever lived permanently here, though sheep have been great there in the past. Saxon is a small village set in a deep, quiet valley, surrounded by tall mountains. The village sits above a lagoon that was once a natural harbour, but over time, the sea retreated, leaving behind a sandy, tidal area that is now only filled with water during high tide. The area itself is made up of traditional Faroese houses, many of which have turf roofs. One of the key landmarks is a modest white church that reflects the humble lifestyle of the people who lived here. Visitors often take trails that lead to higher ground, where they can see the sweeping views of the valley, the lagoon, and the Atlantic Ocean in the distance. Fossa Waterfall, one of the tallest waterfalls in the Faroe Islands, cascades down in 2 main stages from a high cliff. The upper stage of the waterfall flows into a pool, and from there, the water continues down to the base of the cliff. When there's heavy rain, the waterfall becomes even more powerful, with water rushing down the rocks with great force. Visitors can hike up close to the waterfall, with trails leading to the base of the first drop. The closer you get, the louder the sound of the crashing water becomes, adding to the powerful experience. Klakkur is a mountain known for the combination of easy access and incredible scenery, setting it apart from many other peaks in the region. The mountain rises above the town of Klaksvík. From the summit, visitors are rewarded with some of the best views of the town spreading out below. Klaksvík's location, nestled between two fjords, with the water on both sides of the town, makes it feel almost like an island itself. The second largest town in the islands, known for its strong fishing industry, has provided safe passage for fishing boats for generations. Tjørnuvík is one of the oldest villages on the islands, with traces of Viking burial sites, which shows how long people have lived in this area. Surrounded by tall mountains and facing out to the Atlantic Ocean, its black sand beach is the one element that connects them all together. While it may seem isolated, the beach has been an important part of the village for centuries, providing access to the ocean for fishing. One of the most interesting things about Tjørnuvík is the view across the water. From the beach, you can see two large sea stacks, which are known as Risen and Kellingin, or the Giant and the Witch. According to legend, these rocks were once a giant and a witch from Iceland, sent to steal the Faroe Islands and take them back to their homeland. However, they were turned to stone by the sun, and they remain standing in the sea to this day. Mykines Island is a place where nature reigns. The island is small and isolated, with only a few people living there year-round, and visitors who come to experience the untouched nature and the peaceful atmosphere. It stands out for being home to a large colony of puffins. These puffins dig burrows into the steep cliffs and return each year to breed, making Mykines a lively spot during the summer months. Lake Sørvágsvatn, the largest lake in the country, appears to float high above the sea, drawing visitors from around the world. In reality, the lake sits only about 30 meters above sea level, but the cliffs on its edge create the illusion that it is much higher when viewed from certain angles. The lake stretches inland, surrounded by rolling hills and rocky terrain, and eventually flows into a waterfall called Gásadalur, dropping straight into the Atlantic Ocean below. The two villages, located on opposite sides of the lake, both claimed it. While the official name is Sørvágsvatn, Locals from one of the villages often refer to it as Leitisvatn. The lake has long played an important role for the people in these villages, providing fresh water and a fishing resource. Surrounded by towering mountains and a fjord, Funningur is a quiet and peaceful place that feels far removed from the busy world. Some people believe it was the first settlement in the Faroe Islands, founded by a Viking. One of the most popular hikes there leads to Slættaratinda. From the top of the mountain, hikers are rewarded with incredible views of the surrounding islands and the Atlantic Ocean. Suduroy Island has a lot to offer in terms of natural beauty. One of the most popular destinations is Bienisverd. The cliffs are not only impressive to look at, but they are also home to a large population of seabirds, which use the rock faces as nesting grounds. On the western coast of the island is Ásmundarstakka. It stands tall in the ocean, separated from the main island, and its isolated position makes it look almost otherworldly. The sea stack is named after a giant who once lived on the island. As the story goes, he was trying to escape the island, but when he stepped into the sea, he was turned into stone, leaving the towering sea stack behind. Kolstrup Sogn Church is a historic church built in the Middle Ages. The church features simple, whitewashed walls and a red-tiled roof, typical of rural Danish architecture. One of the church's key features is its bell tower, which houses an ancient bell that has called villagers to prayer for hundreds of years. Himmelbjerget Hill Tower stands on top of Himmelbjerget, one of Denmark's highest natural points. The tower was built in 1875 to honor King Frederik VII, who is remembered for signing the Danish constitution, transitioning Denmark into a constitutional monarchy. The tower, made of red brick, was funded through public donations, reflecting the strong connection between the citizens and their country's move towards modern governance. Visitors can climb to the top of the tower and see wide views of the surrounding landscape, which stretches out in all directions. Tranekær Castle dates back to the 12th century and originally served as a fortress built to defend the region. Over time, it evolved into a grand red brick residence, reflecting different architectural styles from its various renovations. The castle has been owned by the same noble family for centuries, and they continue to maintain the property, keeping its long history alive. Jægersborg Dyrehave is a large forested park, home to over 2,000 free roaming deer. One of the most interesting parts of the park is the Hermitage Palace, a small hunting lodge built in 1736. The palace sits on a hill overlooking the park and was used by the royal family for lavish hunting banquets. Greenland is the world's largest island, located between the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans. The most surprising fact about Greenland is that despite being mostly covered in ice, the island is slowly rising. As the ice melts and reduces weight on the land, the earth beneath it rises, changing the landscape in ways that scientists are still trying to understand. Despite its name, much of Greenland is covered by ice, with nearly 80% of the island dominated by the Greenland ice sheet, the second largest ice mass in the world after the Antarctic ice sheet. While it may seem like a frozen, unmoving mass, the ice sheet is constantly shifting. Glaciers at the edges of the ice sheet slowly flow toward the sea, carving off large icebergs that float into the ocean. The ice sheet is so large that it contains about 10% of the world's fresh water. However, with its rapid melting due to climate change, it serves as a powerful reminder of the urgent need to address global warming. The majority of people in Greenland are Inuit, whose ancestors migrated from Canada over 1,000 years ago. Greenland's small population lives mainly along the coast, where the land is free from ice. One of the coastal towns is Ilulissat. The name Ilulissat means icebergs in Greenlandic, which is fitting given that the town is surrounded by these massive, floating chunks of ice that break off from the nearby glaciers and drift into the ocean. The town's close relationship with the ice and the Arctic environment has shaped its history, culture, and economy. The town's most remarkable natural wonder is the Ilulissat Icefjord. The Icefjord is renowned for its enormous icebergs, which break off from the Sørmek Glacier, one of the most productive and fast-moving glaciers in the world. It is stretching over 40 kilometers, creating an ever-changing landscape of icebergs floating through the fjord before they eventually reach the open sea. It has become a key area for climate research as it offers a real-time view of how global warming is affecting the Arctic. The Icefjord reduces many icebergs that drift south along Greenland's coast. The famous iceberg that struck the Titanic in 1912 is believed to have originated from this area. This is Denmark, a land full of natural wonders and incredible architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the greatest natural wonders of Norway, check out this video.